It was the night of November 9th, 1989. What began as a confused announcement during a press conference would soon become one of the most iconic and emotional moments of the 20th century, the fall of the Berlin Wall. After nearly 3 decades of division, the city of Berlin, and in many ways the world, was about to change forever. To understand what made this moment so powerful, we need to rewind to the aftermath of World War II. In 1945, Germany was defeated and divided by the Allied powers into 4 occupation zones, controlled by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. Berlin, although entirely within the Soviet zone, was also split into 4 sections. Over the next few years, tensions between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies escalated, and by 1949, Germany had effectively split into 2 countries: West Germany, aligned with the West, and East Germany, a Soviet-backed socialist state. As ideological tensions intensified, millions of East Germans began fleeing to the West, many through Berlin, where the border was still relatively easy to cross. By 1961, East Germany had lost over 2.5 million people, including many young professionals and skilled workers. The East German government responded by erecting a wall, literally overnight, on August 13, 1961. The Berlin Wall was more than just concrete and barbed wire. It was a heavily fortified barrier patrolled by armed guards with orders to shoot anyone attempting to escape. Families were separated, lives were torn apart, and a city was cleaved in 2. Over the next 28 years, at least 140 people died trying to cross it, some by gunfire, others from fatal injuries sustained in escape attempts. Despite the danger, people never stopped trying. Ingenious escape methods included digging tunnels, flying homemade hot air balloons, and even hiding in car engines. Each successful crossing became a story of defiance. Each death was a reminder of the cost of division. By the 1980s, the world was changing. In the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev introduced sweeping reforms: glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, which began to soften the hardline grip of communism across Eastern Europe. Citizens across the Soviet bloc grew bolder, organizing mass protests demanding freedom and democratic reforms. In East Germany, frustration was boiling over. Massive demonstrations in cities like Leipzig became impossible to ignore. The government, overwhelmed and under pressure, made a series of blunders, none bigger than what happened on November 9, 1989. That evening, Günter Schabowski, an East German official, held a press conference. When asked when new travel regulations allowing East Berliners to cross the border would take effect, he stumbled. Confused and underprepared, he replied, "As far as I know, immediately, without delay."
So, an extraordinary night of euphoria in Berlin. Within hours of East Germany's decision to let its people go by opening the border to the west, the city erupted in a frenzy of celebration. East German border guards watched as jubilant crowds danced on the infamous Berlin Wall that's divided Europe for a generation.
Incredible scenes, and in fact we've just heard that Chancellor Helmut Kohl has in fact interrupted his visit to Poland to return home for an emergency cabinet session on the East German crisis.
That statement, broadcast live, spread like wildfire. Within hours, thousands of East Berliners flooded the border checkpoints. The guards, unsure of what to do and with no clear orders, did the unthinkable. They opened the gates. What followed was a scene of euphoria. People from both sides climbed the wall, hugged, danced and cried. Others chipped away at it with hammers and pickaxes, taking pieces home as souvenirs. In that moment, the Berlin Wall, a symbol of Cold War division and oppression, ceased to exist. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the beginning of the end for communist regimes across Eastern Europe. Within a year, Germany was reunified. Within 2, the Soviet Union collapsed. Today, sections of the wall still stand, preserved as historical reminders. But the real legacy lives in the people who risked everything for freedom, and in the power of a united voice demanding change. The Berlin Wall didn't fall because a government decided it was time. It fell because people refused to live divided. And that's what truly changed the world.